Guys, today we are going to be reacting to horror shorts parties, animated scary stories. Let's get into it.
This happened to me when I was working at McDonald's. My boss assigned a schedule amongst our staff. I was unfortunately scheduled for the night shift on Fridays. I didn't usually mind, as we didn't get a whole lot of business around this time of night. My boss was pretty laid back, and didn't mind if I went on my phone during business hours, so long as I got all my work done. I remember dozing off repeatedly due to the fact that I wasn't fully acclimated with the night shift hours. Psst. That's when I heard someone making a psst sound, the kind of sound you make when you try to draw someone's attention. I noticed a customer trying to make an order outside, so I quickly greet them with my usual, "Hi, welcome to McDonald's, may I take your order?" I then heard a man say, "One Whopper, please? Yes, I would like one Whopper, please." I couldn't tell if he was being a smartass or not, so I ended up saying, "This isn't Burger King, sir. We don't serve that here." I heard him chuckling profusely after I said that. I quickly checked the security camera, only to see a clown. The clown was standing in front of the drive-thru menu without a car. It's not Halloween, why the hell is this guy dressed up like that? I really didn't want to serve this guy, so I decided to use our company policy as a plausible excuse for him to exit the premises. "Hi sir, unfortunately you need to be in a vehicle in order to purchase something here." "If you don't have a Whopper, I'll take a Baconator instead." I now could tell this guy was some random psycho harassing me. I instinctively yelled, "Get the hell out of here before I call the cops!" I cautiously stick my head out the window, only to see the clown no longer there. A couple hours later, near the end of my shift, I notify my boss and fellow employees regarding the situation. They all dismissed my accusations by saying ignorant things like, "Did you get his autograph?" Or, "It was probably some guy that thought it was Halloween." I annoyingly pretend to be amused and head home. The following Friday, it was my time to work the night shift again. I really dreaded working this shift, especially after what transpired that day. I tried to convince myself that it would be highly unlikely that I'd encounter that clown again. As time went on, I remember dozing off as I get startled by another psst sound. I urgently check the security camera, but don't see anyone present. At this point, I genuinely thought I was hearing things due to my subconscious mind thinking about the clown. My paranoia must have been at the peak of its height. That's when I turned my head towards the drive-thru window, only to see the clown staring dead at me. "If you don't make me a Big Mac, I will kill you." Sure. My heart sank to my stomach. The clown knew my name. I immediately grabbed my cell phone to call the cops, but my hands were trembling so much that I actually wasn't capable of dialing anything. The clown started banging his head on the glass while screaming my name, Trevor, repeatedly. Trevor, I am not loving it! Trevor! I see blood dripping down from his head. I started shouting from the top of my lungs, "Leave me alone or I will call the cops!" The clown runs away as another car approaches the drive-thru lot. I stupidly resume work and wait for my boss to come in. Upon his arrival, I explain the entire situation to him. He then dismisses me by saying, "Don't sweat it, kid. It was probably some drunk. You can go home now." As he was talking, I noticed a cut on his forehead. I can even see blood start to drip from it. No. It can't be. Goodbye, Trevor. No.
The boss was the clown. That story was fire. Next.
When I was a teenager, I went to visit my grandfather for Easter. I always dreaded visiting my grandpa's house on my mother's side of the family, because he was always a mean, bitter old pain in the neck for as long as I can remember. But in the last years of his life, he got even worse. He had some kind of dementia that made him act extremely strange. I was somehow supposed to be used to him spacing out and mumbling gibberish to himself by that point. But obviously as a kid, there's no adjusting to that sort of thing. It's easy to imagine why I didn't want to spend my entire holiday with him, which amounted to several days and nights at his creepy old house. Even my mom didn't want to go see her own father. Her and my dad always had arguments the night before we left. She was understandably distraught, and looking back on it now, I'm sure there was a lot of childhood trauma she wanted to avoid. My dad was adamant though, always guilt-tripping us, constantly telling us how my grandpa didn't have much years left in him and that we would regret it when he passed. Obviously, that fight put even more of a dark shadow over the whole trip before it even started, and once we got there, I knew right away that it was going to be worse than I thought. My grandpa was in rough shape physically, but mentally more than anything. He was very weird. I avoided him as much as I could, but during the time that I was forced to spend with him, I never once saw him get up from his easy chair. He spent most of the time with us just mumbling gibberish to himself while staring up at the ceiling. It was like his pupils were glued to the top of his eyelids, and he couldn't have looked down if he wanted to. Needless to say, none of us were very happy campers on this trip, and it still didn't get better at night when we all went to bed. I was giving my mom's childhood room sleeping, and the second I saw it, I started to understand why my mom was a little crazy. In my mom's childhood bedroom was a life-size Easter bunny costume, standing right across the foot of the bed. I couldn't fathom how my mom was able to sleep here at night. And why the hell did my grandpa keep this thing here? All these unanswered questions made me feel even more uncomfortable than I already was. I definitely didn't want to sleep there, but I didn't have much of a choice. My only other option was to sleep on the couch in the living room, but I was too scared of Grandpa wandering around in the middle of the night in one of those dementia sleepwalking episodes, so I needed to have a door I could lock just to feel safe. It wasn't easy to sleep in that room, though. The costume stared right at the bed. I thought about moving it out of the way, but I was realistically worried that Grandpa would freak out if I altered anything in his house. And I was also less realistically worried that the thing was alive and would wake up if I touched it. For those reasons, I just dealt with it. The first couple nights, I struggled to sleep. I would literally hide under the covers. But on the last night, things were a little different. I was excited about leaving in the morning, which made it even harder to sleep. And that bunny was still there, which also made it very hard to sleep. I couldn't figure out what, but I could have sworn there was something different about it. Whatever it was, I was curious about it. After not sleeping for a few hours, I got out of bed and walked over to it. I looked it up and down, and got really close to see if there were any details about it that had changed. For the most part, I couldn't tell, but for the few seconds that my face was close to its face, I knew, undeniably, I could hear it breathing. It reached out and grabbed me. It then lifted me up in the air and started violently shaking, all the while screaming like crazy. I fought back, but all my blows were softened by the fabric. It was all useless until I managed to plant my feet against him and push him back with all my might. The monster finally dropped me and I hit the ground. I scrambled to my feet while the Easter Bunny staggered backwards. Then, I sprinted out of the room and ran to my parents. I started to explain what was going on, but my mom barely let me get a word out. Mom! The Easter Bunny's alive! It's alive!
Oh my god! I knew this would happen!
What do you mean?
Never mind. Let's just go. I'll get your things together.
And just like that, we left Grandpa's house in the middle of the night with all our luggage. I never saw him again. He didn't last much longer after that anyway. He died just a few months later. For years, I held on to this little what I thought happened. For all I knew, that thing really was alive and tried to kill me. But obviously that wasn't true. Later on, when I turned 18, my mom sat me down and explained the reality. When she was a kid, Grandpa used to dress up in that Easter Bunny costume and stand in her room at night, just watching to make sure she was asleep. And if she woke up, he would attack her. She thought he had stopped doing that when she got older, but when his mental condition deteriorated to the point that it did, that nasty old habit came back, and I had to experience it. That was a lot to take in. It was my own grandfather watching me at night, like a total maniac. It was him behind the mask, and the Easter Bunny scarred me for life.